What in the flying hoot happened at wide receiver yesterday? And where the hell were the New York Jets? Well, we've got to dive in and see, do the New York Jets know what they're doing? Or are they sleeping at the wheel? Boy Green Daily starts now.
Zoinks! It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show.
Come on, people. Connor Rodgers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever been.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
Good morning, what's poppin', everybody? You know my name. It is Paul Esden Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. Welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show, also available wherever you get your guys' podcast. And, all right, let's go to our normal guest on a Friday. Let's go right to him. We got, what the hell? James Woody. Woody. Boy Green meets Woody. I can understand the confusion. Tuesdays, Thursdays, 3 o'clock. Wrong show, man. Wrong show.
Hey, when the times call for some Woodyology, then the Woodyology comes. Because right here, right now, there's too much going on, Boy Green. I couldn't sleep. Last night, I could not sleep. So here I am, 7:30, the crack of dawn to talk sports with the best person in the biz, Boy Green.
Well, of course. That is true. And before we get into all that, we have all the crazy wide receiver stuff that we must react to. However, we will start the show with a slice out of the pie of positivity. I've had this ready for months. This tweet I already sent out earlier this morning, so let's throw it up on the big board, people. Today, it's a special day. It's a special anniversary for those who don't know. And here's part of the clip. We'll play it right here. Okay? Here we go.
I made it clear that my intention was to play, and my intention was to play for the New York Jets.
Okay.
And I haven't been holding anything up at this point. It's been compensation that the Packers are trying to get for me and kind of digging their heels in. So I would just I think it is interesting at this point to step back and look at the whole picture. My side, love and appreciation, gratitude for everything that Green Bay has done for me. So much love and gratitude and just heart open to the Packer fans and what it meant to be their quarterback. And also the reality of the situation, it is what it is. The Packers would like to move on. They've let me know that in so many words. They've let other people know that in direct words. And because I still have that fire and I want to play and I would like to play in New York, it's just a matter of, getting that done at this point.
Okay, people in New York are doing this right now. Yeah. People in New York are pumped right now, and I appreciate you laying it all out there. I appreciate you.
So let's put that aside for a second. So people be like, what in the hell just happened there? Why was Paul in a black and white silent movie with Aaron Rodgers at the same time? So let's go back to a year ago, Woody. So Aaron Rodgers is fresh out of his darkness retreat. He just came out, but we hadn't heard from him. He didn't say anything. And then he announces, and Pat McAfee kind of semi-announced together, or Pat McAfee announces, Aaron Rodgers coming on the show to talk and to share something. We didn't know what it was. We didn't know what it was about. But I was thinking about doing something with the announcement. And then my work, heavy sports, heavy on Jets, which helps support this show, of course, they reach out to me and say, Paul, would you be interested in doing a live stream? And where we have the Pat McAfee show live. It's a live stream, and you're in it, and you're watching it, and you're reacting to it. And we had no idea what Aaron Rodgers was going to say, if anything, about the New York Jets. So it could have been a total waste of time. But you saw just my body convulsions, because the first thing we didn't know, was he continuing his NFL career, or was he just retiring? Because that was a big possibility coming out of it. He's like, yeah, I'm just going to hang him up. And that dream would have been over, and the Jets would have been like, not Derek Carr. Who's the guy then if that would have happened? So my immediate body convulsions for, okay, he's just continuing his NFL career. There must be a chance for the Jets. And then when he said his intention was to play for the Jets, I didn't know what to do with my body. It just started spazzing. And I was like, what the? I will never forget that moment for the rest of my life. And while obviously he was still a member of the Packers, and now knowing the history, he ended up being a member of the Packers for the next month and like week and a half. So like it took a while for him to get to the Jets, but I just knew in my mind at that moment in time, Aaron Rodgers somehow, some way would be our quarterback. He just publicly announced on a national show that he intended to play for the Jets, and it was just a formality, crossing some T's, dotting some I's. We got our franchise quarterback, and I know we didn't get to see it last year, but I am just as excited in that moment. I'm just as excited as I was last year about the entire process. So it's a 1-year anniversary today on March 15th. For people that don't know, I've known about this anniversary for a while. I love it and had to passionately post that on the YouTube, the Instagram, and the Twitter. Love it.
Wow, what a tremendous year it's been. Those 4 plays, woo! Those 4 glorious plays, definitely worth celebrating. Absolutely nothing bad came of it. Getting Randall Cobb and giving him so many snaps. Absolutely nothing. It's been a glorious year. Woo! That playoff berth. Woo! You remember that playoff berth, Boy Green? Oh my God, so much to celebrate. I'm glad that we just relived that moment this early in the morning.
Again, the thing for me is, abstinence makes the heart grow fonder. And there is no abstinence like a 13-year playoff drought. So my heart is as fond as it can be. It is ready. I am ready to explode. And I think that's coming here in 2024. So.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So without further ado.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's no other proper segue to this. So let's get into it. The wide receiver market exploded last night. Keenan Allen was traded from the Chargers to the Bears. I just want to say real quick, it would have been sweeter to be able to shove it in Chargers fans' face if he landed on the Jets. But I tweeted that out a couple of times like, ooh, Keenan Allen could be a target, guys. And Chargers fans lit me up like a Christmas tree. We should spend time going through those comments. You're an idiot. Must be nice living in La La Land. We ain't trading him, you idiot. Stupid New York media and all this other crap that came out. So shut the hell up. Let me tell that to the Chargers people. So he gets traded for a bag of Doritos, so a 4th-round pick. We have Hollywood Brown, 1-year deal to the Chiefs. He could have come to the Jets, Sean Jefferson, that connection. And what was the 3rd receiver, Woody? Who was that?
Or
was there one more? Was that it, basically?
I think that was it. I don't think that. Yeah, I don't think there was.
I'll double check Schefter to see if there's any other splash at wide receiver I'm missing. But yeah. So anywho,
that was the big spot. Keenan Allen. All these trades that we see, it's just like the Jets have this, right? Like they have a 4th-round pick, they have a 5th-round pick. You just even hyping up the Morgan Moses trade, right? Move down 20 spots, still have a 4th-round pick. Also have that higher 4th-round pick, and it's like where does Joe Douglas's phone work? Does he need some Wi-Fi? Like what is up in terms of making these deals? And I know you said there's speculation. Maybe they didn't want to send him to the AFC. I'm not
Possibly.
sure if that's that big of a deal. But this isn't the only trade that occurred. I mean, look at all the trades that have happened in the last couple of weeks. These receivers are going for nothing. We have these nothings, and not making the move.
There's another one, a really good one. I'm glad Danny brought this up. He knew normally. Oh wait, the comment disappeared. We're getting too many comments. It disappeared too quick. Oh, here it is.
Oh,
Danny, Curtis Samuel to Buffalo. I think that's a really good deal for Buffalo. So shout out to Danny and Bills fans for getting him. He's, again, a guy that Jet fans have drooled over forever, gadget receiver, all these other things. And 3-year, $30 million, $24 million guaranteed. So especially in this wide receiver market, not too shabby there. So that was another one. And then obviously the Corey Davis news that we've all been speculating about for a long time. He has entered the arena. So that's another one. But Woody, you normally this conversation is Boy Green, crazy positive guy, Woody, somewhat pessimistic guy. In a very stereotypical world, that's what it is. But if you want me to come to your dark side of the force, I will come with you with this. So, okay, you know how we speculate. So Keenan Allen went for a 4th-round pick, and Jet fans are like, first off, that he was traded. A lot of people didn't think he'd be traded in general. So, like, Jet fans kick rocks. So he gets traded. And not only does he get traded, he got traded for a 4th-round pick. Interestingly enough, the Bears gave up the number 110 overall pick. The Jets had the number 111 overall pick in the 4th round. They had 2 4th-rounders. That's just kind of interesting. Anywho, so we're like, oh, man, why wouldn't the Jets be in on this? Maybe the Chargers didn't want to trade him in the AFC. Like, what could be happening? Well, we got an answer from Connor Hughes of SNY, and here's what he said about the trade. I'll throw it up on the screen, and I'll read it for our audio-only listeners. This Connor Hughes last night after the Keenan Allen trade is reported. Again, shout out to Jake Glazer who had the scoop. I dug on this name earlier, Connor Hughes says. The Jets, like Deontay Johnson before, weren't involved. Keenan Allen has a base salary of $18 million for the season, likely why Jets looking for more bargain guys. See Moses. This obviously is referencing Morgan Moses. Okay, this is where I get upset. Because here it is. I have no problem with the bargain that Morgan Moses was, but let's be honest with ourselves, okay? This is what I'm going to say. Morgan Moses is owed a salary by the Jets of $5.5 million. Woody, I want to ask you a question. How much in your mind, okay, so you're the budgeteer for the Jets, okay? How much do you think, realistically, the Jets budgeted for the starting right tackle position? If you had to put a dollar amount on it for this season, and it's, I understand that's a complicated thing to say because void years, and you could have done a lot of different things. If you signed, like, I'm making this up, you signed Tyron Smith to play right tackle, right? Like, you could have made it a $1 million cap hit this year and then $1,000 before. But just comparatively speaking, what's a number that you think it could have been penciled in for right tackle if the Jets were budgeting ahead of time because not knowing what's going to happen? How much money do you think they kind of pushed over to the right tackle pile?
Based on previous years, I'm going to go with $10 million.
Okay.
8 to 10 million.
I will say that's a very conservative number, but I like it. Let's go with your $10 million. Okay. So they say going in, okay, well, we got to find a right tackle because Dwayne Brown and Mekhi Becton are hitting free agency. We need to bring a new guy in. The Jets are telling themselves. So let's say, well, they got a budget, of course, at a time. Let's say $10 million. Okay. So you get a surprise. Morgan Moses is $5.5 million. Whoa, we just saved, quote unquote, $4.5 million. So now let's pause time. Okay. Connor Hughes just said that the Jets are looking for more bargains, whatever the word is, like Morgan Moses to fill out the rest of the roster. I call, excuse my Guatemalan, bullshit, because this is where I'm getting upset. If you saved money with Morgan Moses and to Woody's made up number, $10 million, let's say that's what you budgeted, and then, whoa, we only spent $5.5 million. What a team that is in a win now mode would do is say, ooh, again, in these made up numbers, $4.5 million extra, we can push that on over to the wide receiver pile. And if we budgeted, I don't know, let's say $10 million at wide receiver, now we've got $14.5 million. It seems like, according to Connor Hughes reporting in tweet, that Joe Douglas went, $4.5, nice. And by the way, it's not $4.5, it's $4.5 million. He's like, sweet, I'm putting that in my pocket. I'm gonna get myself a nice juicy steak dinner tomorrow night. That's the thing that angers me, because that money should not be pushed into a separate escrow account in Guatemala. It should be pushed to another need on the team, and that's the roster construction. You committed to, let's say, spending $100 million this offseason. That's a made-up crazy number, but you commit to that. Why would you say, well, I guess it's only going to be 95 because we saved a little money here, so we might as well save it for the next GM of the Jets? That makes no sense. So, again, I'm normally a positive guy, crazy optimistic. That's the thing. If Connor Hughes is right, and by the way, he's been pretty right so far. He said they weren't going to make splashes. They weren't going to do this, going to do that. So far, he's been completely right with his free agency prediction so far, which scares me because this latest thing seems crazy. That's where you'll get me upset. That's where you'll get me marching around going, the Chris Farley, from Billy Madison, where the bus driver, and his face is turning purple. Like, that's me right now. Yeah.
I do like my dad's correction that it is not crazy positive. It's actually called delusion. I completely agree with him.
Hey, but different strokes, different folks.
Okay, but here we go. CJ Mosley. I said this yesterday on Boy Green Meets Woody. Tuesdays and Thursdays, 3 o'clock. Check it out.
Very nice.
CJ Mosley took a cut. Aaron Rodgers took a pay cut. These captains of the team sacrificed money out of their own pockets so that a splash like this could be made. This is the exact type of move that they sacrifice their money for. And Joe Douglas is still trying to look for these bargains. I understand bargains are great. Like you just said, we can celebrate Morgan Moses and all that. You know, we were talking about the degrees of positivity of that move. That it was a good move. It was. How are they not inquiring about one of the league's best receivers, a veteran who definitely would gel with Aaron Rodgers? Oh my Lord, I'm just terrified that the veteran that they are talking about is Odell. Yeah, sell us Odell when they could have had somebody who is still highly productive in Keenan Allen. Literally, carrying that Chargers offense last year as everybody went down with injury like flies, and he was still the one constant, which is actually kind of rare because he suffered some injuries over the years. But
I would even say real quick to Keenan Allen's point. So like this is even crazy. He even got hurt last year. Let me make sure I have it in front of me. Yeah, he only played in 13 games last year, so he missed 4 games. And here was his numbers missing 4 games. He had 108 receptions, 1,200 yards, and 7 touchdowns. That would be, just off the top of my head, that would be the second most catches in a single season in Jets history. The 1,200 plus would be, somewhere in the top 5, top 7 range, and then 7 touchdowns. And that, again, is with him missing 4 games. So I just want to throw that out into the universe. So I understand some people are kind of whatever about Keenan Allen's age or injury history or things of that nature, but wildly productive. Now, I do want to put this out into the universe because there's a chance that in 5 minutes this video is immediately cooked because Joe Douglas did find that bargain. So I want to leave the possibility out there that Joe Douglas, again, he didn't want this Keenan Allen move for whatever reason, age, number, whatever. Chargers maybe not going to the AFC again. My speculation, I have no idea. Maybe that he does have a move in the bank, but not knowing that move right now, you're just left going, wow. Interesting. Maybe it is Corey Davis. Although here's the thing. I'm probably going to do this on another show in a deeper dive detail. Here's something else I just want to throw out into the universe. So in case you guys missed it, Corey Davis he applied for reinstatement to the NFL. What that would have meant is the Jets control his rights if he chose to come back, which he's trying to do. So the Jets released him from his rights, making him an unrestricted free agent. I asked the universe, outside of Joe Douglas being a great guy, what is the benefit of that? Because having his rights is only good. 1, if you want, you could trade his rights. So there's an asset for you. Number 2, if you held on to his rights, you had an opportunity to exclusively negotiate one-on-one with Corey Davis with no one else talking to you. That would be illegal tampering. Not legal tampering. There would be illegal tampering if someone talked to him. I just want to make sure that point was clarified here. So if you had his rights, you could just bring Corey Davis, hey, you want to come back to football? Okay, let's talk about it. What are we going to talk about for a contract? And they could have sat at a table and banged all of this out. But no, they didn't trade him. No, they didn't exclusively negotiate one-on-one. They just let him go to the open market. And Field says, well, maybe he'll come back. Maybe. What the? The Jets need a receiver. Corey Davis knows the team. He was with the team through training camp and deep into August before he made this decision to walk away. Like, he has a little bit of a relationship with Aaron Rodgers. They're sharing some of the Corey Davis, Aaron Rodgers highlight tapes. Like, I don't think Corey Davis is Alan Lazard. That's another conversation. But I don't think Corey Davis is Keenan Allen. Now, if they end up re-signing Corey Davis, I'll probably just paint a Keenan Allen face on Corey Davis's body and say, okay, well, it's sort of the same. That's what I'll try to convince myself. But that's just the thing with Corey Davis I don't understand. So maybe you have a better answer for it, Woody. Why would the Jets release Corey Davis from the reserve retired list and make him an unrestricted free agent when I just said all of those things? Do you have an answer to that? I thought that it was the contract because I thought they would have to pick up that previous cap hit, which was pretty pricey. It was, I believe, $10.5 million with only $666,000 guaranteed. So the rest of it was non-guaranteed. So, right. I don't know how it works. Like, he's applying for reinstatement. can you talk to him before he reapplies to figure out the contract before he jumps on the team, or does that number just immediately hit you? That some of those parts I don't know.
So, I mean, if that's the case, then I wholeheartedly agree with they cannot pay. I mean, if I don't know their money scale of what value means. If Keenan Allen's not worth 18, I'm telling you right now, Corey Davis is not worth 10 and a half. Corey Davis is not even close to the stratosphere of Keenan Allen. He is much closer to the stratosphere of Allen Lazard, and I don't even mean that as a slight. It's just a fact. I mean,
Keenan Allen, by the way, is going to be due $23 million. So he's got $18 million plus there's a $5 million roster bonus coming here in a few days. So he'll have a $23 million number for the 2023 season. It looks like.
I mean, but they could have, they could have worked with that. I feel like they could have. Corey Davis, I'm not even shedding any tears over. I mean, would it be nice to have him? I don't even know.
Wow.
He hasn't had What do you mean? He hasn't had a great season. What is his Jets?
Oh, we're getting back into good
yards?
or great again. Oh boy.
What 400 yards? You're gonna take this to you're gonna shed tears over 400 yards, 500 yards. I'm not missing Corey Davis.
But okay, so you mentioned those numbers, right? So, right, in his 2 seasons with the Jets, because again, last year, which would have been the final year of his deal, he didn't end up playing. Here are his numbers. 2021, his first season with the Jets, 34 catches, 492 yards, 4 touchdowns. His second season, 32 catches, 536 yards, 2 touchdowns. Now, you could say, oh, Paul, what do you see in that? Well, who was his quarterback in those 2 seasons, I would like to know? What is it with Aaron Rodgers? High tide rises all boats. I'm just saying he should be an option in the room, especially with options just disappearing into the universe, right? We're seeing every day Hollywood, Keenan, this guy, that guy. I don't think we should just brush off, Corey Davis, whatever. Like, for a guy that knows the system and knows everything, and right now, okay, we'll probably have to get into this over the coming days because there's probably not enough time in this episode to do it. But like Allen Lazard is being shopped. That's an entire another conversation. But if he gets moved somehow by the power of Christ, okay, then if you're the Jets, you need a wide receiver 2, a wide receiver 3, and a wide receiver 4. The UDFA boys, in my opinion, of X and Jason Brownlee are 5 and 6. So that means you're missing the entirety, not named Garrett Wilson, of your wide receiving core. So that's why I say if you're missing 3, what's a sandwich? If I have a piece of bread and a piece of bread, but there's nothing in between, that's what was that, a knuckle sandwich, a jam sandwich? That's a not tasty sandwich, I'll tell you that. So if you're missing the meat, which is wide receiver 2, 3, 4, so Corey Davis, you're telling me can't be wide receiver 2, 3, 4? And the number, I would imagine, maybe we will be surprised with this wide receiver market, right? Like Darnell Mooney getting $39 million. What the hell is Corey Davis going to get coming off his couch? I don't know. If he was owed, quote unquote, $10.5 million with the Jets, I'm fascinated to see what now he's on the open market and he's coming off the couch. I would imagine that number has to be lower than that on a per year basis. So that's what I'm saying. I just don't think he should be brushed off because the Jets seem to be doing everything in their power to get rid of Lazard. And then they've got Garrett Wilson and a couple of UDFA guys that showed some flashes, but I think they're better served in 5 and 6.
Well, I just think that they should be aiming much higher. Like how you said it. Should we not be upset about Keenan Allen because Joe Douglas is cooking up a bargain? If Corey Davis is that bargain, then I will. First of all, I will vomit. Second of all, I mean, oh my God, he needs to be usurped. He needs to be usurped from his position. No, stop that. You cannot say that it is a good plan to roll in with Corey Davis as wide receiver 2. 3,
I agree.
4.
I agree. I think we're on the same page there. As my father is in the chat, and so is everybody else. I'll try to get to as many of these as possible. That cooking tastes like crap, he says, apparently, of what Joe Douglas is cooking. Super chat, skip the queue, so keep those going, everybody. We got 700 plus people in the room right now, so make sure you guys like the video, hit subscribe, follow everywhere, and drop in your questions. Like I said, if you're on YouTube, hit the super chat, and we'll get to those as well. But I agree with you. We're on the same page for Corey Davis, wide receiver 2. I'm not on board with that. I probably wasn't on board with that last year, but I'm not on board with it now a year later off the couch. He looks like in great shape. Looks like he's got a 12-pack, okay? Like, he looks like he's doing just dandy. Beach bod, he's got that all figured out. But to go off the couch and be the wide receiver 2 and the Jets go, yeah, it seems pretty fixed. It's back to our treehouse example that we're talking about on Boy Green Meets Woody at 4 o'clock. Like, you kind of duct tape it, like you kind of when you back up as a dad or a man, you just fix something. You just kind of observe your work. You're kind of like cockeyed looking at a half. Yeah, that's probably pretty good. Yeah, like I don't want Joe Douglas to be saying that with the wide receiving core for the New York Jets. So we're on the same page. Corey Davis, wide receiver 2. I don't like that as the path. But again, I'm saying with this Lazard thing, maybe it's a point of no return. They're trying to trade him, and if they can't trade him, they're like, well, I guess he's still on the team, like, because maybe that happens. But assuming somehow he's gone, cut, release, anything, although like his salary is guaranteed anyway, so I don't know the benefit outside of just removing him from the earth of the Jets team universe. Outside of that, you're missing 2, 3, 4. And I think Davis could be part of 2, 3, 4. Not 2, but in the room of 2, 3, 4. Wherever that goes, we'd have to see with the draft and everything else. But again, maybe Joe Douglas is cooking something behind the scenes because there's still a lot of big names out there to be had. There is T. Higgins. There is Brandon Ayuk. I don't want any part of Deebo Samuel personally. We had our chance a couple years ago, and then he's just been more injured. No, thank you. I have, sometimes they say, Randy Mueller, former NFL general manager, says this all the time. Sometimes the best move you make is the one you don't. And 10th overall became Garrett Wilson. 10th overall, coulda, shoulda, woulda been Deebo Samuel. So I think we dodged a bullet. Phenomenal. And we got Garrett, and it all worked out better for all of us. He's way better than I think Deebo Samuel will ever be. I think Garrett Wilson has the ceiling to be better than. I know Deebo Samuel has more production than Garrett Wilson. That's fine, but I think Garrett Wilson's going to be a better receiver by the time he starts getting Aaron Rodgers passes and proving his reputation to the rest of the NFL. So I'm fascinated to see. But there are more trades to be made potentially, maybe.
I wholeheartedly agree. Garrett has the higher ceiling than Deebo. Don't even think that's an argument, but I'm willing to argue with anyone who disagrees. But I don't know about these trades that you say. Are the Bengals actually going to trade T? Doesn't sound like they have any interest in it. It sounded more like him having a tantrum than him actually wanting it. Like, he actually said he wanted to stay in Cincinnati, just didn't like how the conversation was going. So, get me out of here. Get me out. So I don't know if
Keenan Allen. I shouted to Connie Carberg, the first female scout in NFL history, baby. She shared a story from Courtney Cronin of ESPN, and in that story, it was going back to last year about all the players that, like, the Chargers and Chargers media saw this coming, this purge of what eventually happened over the last couple of weeks. So they started asking the players at the end of the year, oh, is this your final run? Is this this? And Keenan Allen went, I want to stay here. I don't want to go nowhere. Blee, blah, blue. And apparently in a reporting, he would have only gone to a select amount of teams, even if he was traded, or he threatened to retire, basically. So,
yeah, well, I mean, I think T. Higgins is going for a richer prize than Keenan, just before the age factor and potential factor and all that. No doubt. So that's not a JD bargain. Like, I really feel like Joe Douglas has shown us that he is truly the cheapest human being on planet Earth. And I have 2 living grandparents. I thought they were the cheapest. But no, Joe Douglas, I don't think he will spend anything to get the things that this organization needs. We still need a left tackle. Still, we're talking about wide
receiver. So you buy what Connor Hughes is saying. So Connor Hughes says that the reason why the Jets weren't in on Keenan Allen was because of that crazy money he was owed, and the Jets are trying to Morgan Moses shop. That's Connor Hughes reporting on Twitter. You are saying you buy that that's true.
I mean, the only reason why Joe Douglas wouldn't buy it is because he's cheap. He's cheap.
Oh, I see.
I'm buying it. I'm buying it.
Okay.
What do you mean? That's what he's done with the offensive line. Now that's what he's trying to do with receiver. And
is it though? Like this offseason, sure. But Lake and Tomlinson, $40 million. Carl Lawson, $45 million. Corey Davis, $37.5 million. Those were unsuccessful moves at the end of the day, but those were significant money in the market and free agency. Each of those moves were.
Yes, well, that's what he does. He has the one splash and then the whole bunch.
But we haven't seen the splash, have we?
No, which is why I am depressed, Boy Green. So what? Tyron Smith, that is the splash. That is, oh my gosh, that is the splash that I'm praying for every single night. Tyron Smith, give me that splash, and I'm here. If you want the receiver splash, I'm not expecting a big trade. Like even Tyreek Hill, right?
Yeah, which the Jets were in on. Yeah.
Yes, one of the best receivers in football. We're talking on everybody's top 5 universally, most people's top 3. Joe Douglas did not offer a first-round pick for Tyreek Hill.
Wait a second. While that's true, the Chiefs agreed to the trade. You're making it seem like as if, like, I'm going to give Joe Douglas credit that he was able to get the Chiefs to agree to a trade that did not include a first-round pick. That's GMing right there. So some people have been in your camp that they've been like, well, Joe Douglas wasn't willing to give up the first-round pick. If I could sell my car for $20,000 and on the way to selling it, someone offered me $10,000, why would I sell it for 10 if I could sell it for 20? You know what I mean? Like, so if he could have gotten Tyreek Hill for less than a first-round pick, then God bless. Get him for less than a first-round pick, which the Chiefs agreed to. The Chiefs went an extra step. Instead of just trading him to the Jets, they said, hey, Tyreek, the Dolphins offered this, Jets offered this. We don't really care. Whatever. You could pick. Like, they didn't have to do that. And if they didn't, we'd have Tyreek Hill. We wouldn't have Garrett Wilson, and we wouldn't have Breece Hall. Like it's the NFL. You move this one piece and all the ripple effects that come with that, because the Jets are going to give up like 35, 38, and all these other picks to make that happen. So I don't, I get what you're saying, that he wasn't willing to do it for Tyreek Hill, then he won't be willing to do it for anybody. And personally, I don't want them to trade the 10th overall pick for anyone on the planet. The big move to me, if you're going to dip in those waters, which again, Joe Douglas should be, since if this doesn't work out, he doesn't have a job anyway, is like 2025 second, stuff like that. The 2025 first, I don't think. Maybe there's a player that will come out. Right now, there is no player in the universe that I can think of that I'd be willing to give the 2025 first step, because you need the trapdoor. Because if this blows up again, and I'm an optimistic guy, so I don't see it happening, but I'm also not the general manager of the New York Jets. And you have to have the trapdoor ready, because if that implodes, you don't have a quarterback. And I don't know what the quarterback class looks like. I don't look that far ahead, but if you're there in 2025 and your season imploded again, you can't be the Carolina Panthers and watch the Bears make the number 1 overall pick. You know what I'm saying? Like that would be a disaster. Like, they're waiting on the sideline. They have no first-round pick. They're just like, oh, Caleb Williams would have been nice. So if you're the Jets, there's no scenario where you give that up. But 2025 second could be really good. That could be value. That could be part of the dipping of the toe. And I'm not willing to do that for anybody. But if the right package was possible.
I in no way advocated for the Jets to give up their first-round pick this year or next year. But I'm saying on the Joe Douglas scale, if Tyreek Hill is not worth, then what is T. Higgins worth? Oh my Lord, this man about to give up a 6th-round pick, trying to say, hey Bengals, I got 2 6s, take all the comp picks, take Mr. Irrelevant. The Joe Douglas.
What do you think he's going to cost, though? It's interesting because T. Higgins is young, of course, but he's had 2,000-yard seasons. He's been pretty, 700-800 yards, and then those 2,000-yard seasons. So he's been a solid guy, but it's not like he's an all-pro like Tyreek Hill. Like, you're like, whoa. But he's really intriguing with his youth and what you can tap into his potential, and you have to give him a fat contract immediately. So what is that worth in value? That's got to affect the draft value somehow, that you're paying him a bag to trade and then pay him a bag for it. So how much does it cost draft capital-wise?
It didn't affect A.J. Brown. They got so much.
What was that, a 1st and a 4th maybe?
Yeah,
but isn't A.J. Brown way better than T. Higgins, though? That's what I'm saying. So, you're mentioning Tyreek Hill and A.J. Brown. Those guys are much higher on the totem pole than T. Higgins.
I wouldn't say at that time AJ Brown was considered a top 5 receiver. I wouldn't even say AJ Brown was
Wait
considered a
a
top
second.
10 receiver. Back then, are you serious?
Oh, well, I'm dead serious.
AJ Brown?
Yeah, and I'm pulling up his stats to make sure that I'm not crazy town here. Oh my God! Yeah, he had a couple of 1,000-yard seasons. What are we talking about? I don't know. It's impossible to go back 2 or 3 years and then give me a top 10 because like so much has happened. But he was a Jet fans were drooling over AJ Brown because Rich Cimini had that one thing in his podcast. Here are the 3 receivers that they're looking at or talking about or something, and AJ Brown was on that list, and Jet fans were going crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he's a bad receiver whatsoever, and I am saying that right now, right, he's had a really nice run with the Eagles. So he definitely looks like a top 10 receiver. We've had some guys drop off. Like Cooper Kupp is somebody who's probably not on that list now, but was definitely on that list 2 years ago. Devontae Adams is probably still on both lists. But anyway, all I'm saying is, with the market, it seems like this Keenan Allen for a 4th. Like I feel like that is so low for such a high talent that I truly don't know for T. Like in 2024, I think I'd rather have Keenan. Like just 2024. But
well, of course, I think we all agree with that. I don't think anyone would disagree. For 2024, of course, it would be Keenan. He's way better than T. Higgins right now in this universe. Yes.
So, but then the factors that you say, you have to give it back, right? Just like everybody else, like in that rookie contract situation, you have to pay them, right? That's why they're getting traded. So I don't like. Is it just a third? Is it like just a couple of Can you get around with no 1 and 2? I don't know. I don't think Joe Douglas knows because he hasn't made any calls. But when Odell and Kim Kardashian are at MetLife and we are just hating our lives, I will be here. I told you I got 2 shoulders. I got one right here, and we can just cry together.
All right, let's go to a YouTube super chat here. This is from Frankie on YouTube. Frankie, thanks for the support, buddy. Again, YouTube super chat skipped the queue, so feel free to dip in, everybody. Joe D, this is Frankie. Joe D is mastermind. Just think, which of his top picks or signings that didn't get hurt are trash besides Lakin, off Pro Bowl, and Lazard, AR guy? Let me think. So which of his top picks or signings didn't get hurt are trash? So he's saying that there isn't a lot there. Let me try to think for a second. Is there anyone a top pick or free agent? Well, I would say DJ Reed is awesome. That's one to go to the bank. What an awesome steal. And I think if we're being real, Jet fans, we had no idea who DJ Reed was. In that later stage of cornerbacks, I know a lot of us were saying, ooh, Stephon Gilmore, which, by the way, apparently would have been good because he's been fantastic for both Indy and Dallas. So that would have been great. And then we got the other guy, quote unquote, DJ Reed. He's been phenomenal. That's a great move in free agency. Tyler Conklin, I think it would be too rich as we're using our G words, Woody. Remember, Woodyology, yesterday's class. I think it would be a little aggressive to use great for Tyler Conklin.
Ooh,
I don't think.
But CJ Uzomah qualifies to answer this question.
Ooh, I wonder what CJ Uzomah, what G word would I use to describe his service with the New York Jets? I'll get back to you on that one. But Conklin, I wouldn't say great. That's too rich. But he's been a very good, solid guy. And I'm curious to see, again, high tide rises all boats. What is Aaron Rodgers going to do with Conklin? What is Aaron Rodgers going to do with Garrett? We are dreaming and drooling of what that looks like. If Tyler Conklin set some career highs with Zach Wilson. Let me see if I can just remember the quarterbacks who were just on the team last year. So, because I saw Brett Rippon leave, God bless, wherever the hell he went. But you have Zach Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, obviously, he started a game. Who else am I missing here? Tim Boyle. How could you forget him? And then there's one more guy. Who was the 4th guy for the Jets this past year? Do you remember, Woody?
Did you say Zach Wilson?
Oh, Trevor Siemian. I was
about to say.
How could we forget? So, anywho, if Tyler Conklin sets some career highs with that at quarterback, what in God's green earth is he going to do with Aaron Rodgers? So that I'm really excited about. So I'd say DJ Reed. I'd say Tyler Conklin. In top picks, again.
Wait, are you misunderstanding the question? What are you saying? He's saying the exact opposite.
Yeah, I think he's being sarcastic. I think Frank D is saying he's not a mastermind. He's saying Lakin was not good and Lazard was not good. That's how I'm interpreting it. I'm reading this as like he's being sarcastic and saying who are the real guys that he's been able to hit with.
Oh, I think it's the exact. I think he is literally saying just think which of his top picks, because the 2022 draft class was successful. AVT was successful,
But injured. That's what that falls into his category. What picks that didn't get hurt? AVT got hurt. Zach Wilson was terrible. Mekhi Becton was hurt and terrible. So that's why I started going through the list. I'm like, oh boy.
Well, that's what and that's why I said CJ Uzomah is a signing that didn't get hurt. I mean,
he did get hurt
at the end of the year. What do you mean? He played more than 14 games both seasons. What are you talking about?
But that doesn't mean he didn't get hurt.
Missing 3,
I know our interpretation of hurt has changed because everyone is hurt on the Jets, so we interpret it differently. But again, he
DJ Reed missed games. DJ Reed, so that would almost exclude.
Well, that was COVID. I don't know if that counts. And a concussion. Every C word we
I love that the chat came up with G words to describe Uzomah. Grotesque.
Oh, grotesque. That's another good one. Yeah, sure.
But I think that's
gargantuan mistake. Yeah, that's another good one. Oh, so Frankie, maybe you're wrong. You could comment in if you're still in the chat. I think for sure this was sarcasm because Joe D has not hit on any of these things that he said. Or guys that are incomplete, right? Like Will McDonald. He was neither hurt nor sucked, but you didn't see him, so it's an incomplete grade. It's I don't know. He had 3 sacks. It's 3 more than Vernon Golston, I guess. But is that the bar? So you know what I'm saying? So I feel like this one was sarcasm delivered here by Frankie. But again, I think there were a handful. Again, you could kind of cherry pick. Tyler Conklin, DJ Reed were a couple of second, third waves. But then you're starting to squint because in this specific way that Frankie has said this, and again, thank you for the YouTube super chat. What he's saying specifically here is he's removing all of the Michael Carter the seconds, the John Franklin Myers, the Bryce Huffs. Those don't count in his scenario, undrafted free agents, because those aren't. Those don't count in his specific example. So I'm filtering all of the. Sorry, Joe. I'm on the beach and I have one of those little filter sifter things, and I'm trying to find a few gems. Oh, sorry, can't count Bryce Huff. Oh, sorry, can't count MC2. And we're going through the list here. So that's a factor. That's a factor. But anyway,
there are
so you thought
plenty of people that think that Joe Douglas is still a mastermind, despite the fact that he clearly has narcolepsy or something. He's always asleep. They truly believe that he's a mastermind. There's a lot of Jets fans that, I don't know where they sell this Kool-Aid at, but I'm so glad that I do not shop there.
If we were playing baseball, how I would describe Joe Douglas is I had the word a second ago, but I will describe it. It's not as sexy without the word, but he's all in or all out. He's home runs or nothing. And what I mean by that, wait, whoa. Rein it in, young Woody. Rein it in. Listen to the master. Okay. Let me tell you. Okay. Jamal Adams trade. Whoa. Sauce Gardner. Garrett Wilson. All these whoa. Jeez, look at these superstars. The entire perception of the Jets is different. I just listened to a random NFL show, and the Jets came up, and they started making some jokes, and they said, but they do got Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson. They just started ripping off of these, cornerstone pieces they have on the team. Those are home runs. Those are Joe cutting. Dinger. But then there's these horrible misses of Zach Wilson and all these other free agencies and Carl Lawson's, Corey Davis, and everything. That's what I'm saying. When you interpret the Joe Douglas, this is why I think there's this split divisiveness among the fan base, where half of them think he's this crazy mastermind that knows what he's doing, and you got to let JD cook, and it's not in our way, but it's his own way. I think that's why there's half the fan base says it's over there, and there's other half that says, sure, okay. Every blind squirrel finds a nut, basically, is how they interpret some of the hits by Joe Douglas. And then they say the rest is truly what Joe Douglas is, and maybe he's just gotten lucky. So I think that's the split down the middle. It might not be as black and white as that, but I think that is the majority parties, besides the minorities that may be in the middle on this. I think the majority parties are Joe Douglas mastermind or Joe Douglas is an idiot. And I think a lot of that is because of his hit rate of when he hits, it's massive. He doesn't normally just hit a little on his moves. It's either a great move or a terrible move. That's my perception.
That is a fair take. You know, I just Joe Douglas. He is okay. He is okay, but he's just not. He's failed. I feel he's just failed in his mission to make this team better. He's failed in the mission to, I don't know how many people's parents he promised that he was going to build an offensive line. Still doesn't have an offensive line. Like,
well, the initial presser, right? That was his State of the Union address. Hello, everybody. Here's Joe Douglas. And he's like, hey, everybody. Yeah, I'm Joe Douglas. Yeah, I'll take questions. They're like, hey, Joe Douglas, what are you all about? He's like, I'm a former offensive lineman. We are going to be. He said all the right things. He hit all the right notes. You know, when you just, you're at a concert and it's, ooh. You're like, oh, wow. Okay. This man is hitting. This man's hitting. And you're getting a little foot tap, actually, a little head bop. He's like, okay, he's hitting the right notes. I'm hearing it. Yes. Offensive line. Yes. Okay. We're going to build this thing from the ground up. Yes. Like all of those were hitting. Now, he just missed on his entire State of the Union, his entire foundation of his house. Hey, everybody, here's the blueprint. Here's how this thing's going to look. And we're going to be competing for Super Bowls with an S. Super Bowls. Okay? And the foundation was the offensive line. But the foundation was Garbaggio. For luck, bad luck with injuries, it is what it is, or bad choices. And then, so when the foundation is... He's trying to build this house, and then it's in quicksand. It's like falling apart. He's like, wait, it's right there. I think that's what's happening here. That is it missing on the biggest level.
Yes. Not too many people get that amount of rope.
6 years? Yeah, normally not, I'd say. He is in year 6. Now, he joined in June of 2019, but it is year 6 of the contract, which will obviously see its way out. So... interesting. We got another YouTube super chat in here. Thank you guys so much for these. Again, that is the way to skip the queue. Guarantee your question gets answered here on the show. Philly Noodles with an S, as we just talked about. 631. Morning, fellas. Feel like wide receiver draft move up in second. So here's the spicy thing, okay? So the Jets just rearranged their picks because the NFL messed something up with a Bengals comp pick. So some of the Jets picks are off. If you just look down my timeline, I've been tweeting a lot, but if you look down my timeline, there's the final order of the Jets picks. Here's the long and short of it. They got a first, got a third. They got 2 fourths, no fifth. They have a sixth and then 2 sevenths. So they have 7 picks in total. Remember, they moved 1 in the 4th round, and then they gave up the 6th round comp pick to the Ravens. So they have 7 total. It does feel like you could combine, to Philly Noodles' point, you could combine those picks to move up in the draft, to package a few of them to launch into the second yeah, you could probably, because you have the third and you have the 2 fourths. You can use math. You can use some math and pull out your calculator to beep, boop, bop, and then you can move up potentially into the second. Because the receiver I want that was teased to me to be a 3rd round pick, and then has kind of been like, he's too good for the 3rd round. Sorry, you bastard. I'm like, man, you don't know what you have till you lost it. If you do one of those Airbnbs at a mansion, you're like, whoa, and then you go back to your stupid shack. You're like, oh God. Now I gotta wipe my own ass or whatever happens at your home. You know what I mean? So that part of it, you're like, boy, that sounded pretty nice. So for me, Ricky Pearsall, the Florida wide receiver, he could be a nice 3rd round target. I'm like, okay, Ricky Pearsall, great. Watching it, Senior Bowl, all this stuff. And I'm like, actually, he looks too good. He's not going to be there in the 3rd round. Trevor Sikkema tells us on Board Green Daily a couple weeks ago. So I still want Ricky Pearsall. So move up and see if you can get Froggy. So you have the picks to combine. Maybe that's where the aggression comes. Cheap labor. So that checks off the Joe Douglas budget because you're paying a lot less for rookies, obviously, than proven vets. But you'd have to get pretty froggy because we'll see where he goes in the draft. Draft is crazy. It's March 15th. The draft is in a month and 10 days. So there's still a while to the draft. But that's like a name. So I'd like to move up. Would you be interested in moving up into the second? Because obviously they don't have a 2nd round pick. So they'd have to combine things to move into the second.
I was really hoping that they could address a lot of their holes in free agency so that they could actually move down. All right, they got the 10th overall
which could give
pick.
them that second, though. But that could be a reverse way to get to this question, though. If they move back, they could move back and pick up a second potentially.
Yeah, that's how I would do it. That's how I would play it. Especially if hopefully the Jets are going into the draft without left tackle as a glaring hole, right? If they're expecting,
that would scare the shit out of me if that happens.
So if they don't, and it's clear, right? Then they really don't need, right? That they can actually, especially with the depth of this draft, they can actually trade down. I think that's my preferred option. Pick up that second and still pick later in the first.
Yes, that'd be fine with me. And here's the thing. So again, the math is going to math. Okay, ultimately, they're again. I keep doing this. My fiance keeps going, "What in God's green earth are you doing?" So like all the time, we'll just be in the living room. We'll be out at the park. We'll be at a restaurant. I just hold up my 10 fingers and I'm going, ding, 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 ding. And she's, well, what are you doing? I'm like, it's the draft. I'm trying to see how the players get to the Jets. And then I just keep staring, ding, 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 ding. And I keep doing different combinations. 4 quarterbacks, 3 way. And I'm just muttering to myself like a witch doing an incantation. And so I'm going, so trying to figure out the numbers. So there has been a little bit of that with it. But again, the math is going to math. Somebody's going to fall. So there might be a temptation to go to 10. But if all the guys go, because there is this combination, which you hate, the 4 quarterbacks, the 3 wide receivers, and then 2 offensive tackles. That's what's that? Yeah, that's a perfect math. Nice. I just did it with my fingers. So you got the 4 quarterbacks, you got the 3 wide receivers, okay, and they got the 2 offensive linemen. All of a sudden, that math adds up to the Jets get effed. Okay, yeah, beep boop pop in the equation. Jets effed. Okay, that's where you're like, oh, but you might as well trade back because you've missed out on the 2 top left tackles in theory, and Olu Fashanu and Joel. You missed on the receivers. The quarterbacks don't really matter, but it doesn't matter. All the important pieces have been attacked. So you're getting 3rd, 4th, 5th fiddle, depending where you are at which position, wide receiver, offensive tackle,
Bowers.
Or Bowers, right? To your point. So, like I said, there could be intrigue to stay. The thing that here, let me tell you what scares me. And it's this. Thank you for the super chat, Philly Noodles, with an S. Here's what scares me. The thing that the Jets could do is not Brock Bowers that scares me. That's scary. Nathaniel Hackett, can he maximize him? I don't know. The thing that scares me is this, and we talked about with Trevor Sikkema. If the draft plays out, let's say in the quote-unquote worst-case scenario I said, right? 4 quarterbacks, 3 wide receivers, 2 offensive tackles, okay? 4 plus 3 is 7, plus 2 is 9, which means all of that is off the board before the Jets, who pick 10. What if the Jets say, they lean back in their draft chair? Boys, I know we have the 10th overall pick, but actually, we have the 1st overall pick. And people in the room like, what are you talking about? Not a defender was selected yet, boys. We could have the number 1 overall pick of any defender on the board. And you may say, Paul, you're an idiot. There's no way they'd do that. Was there any way they'd do Will McDonald last year? Was there any way? I could 1,000% see the Jets and Robert Saleh's in the room, and he goes, huh? Well, the right combination happened where he's like, we could have, and he's telling the room this, we could have the number 1 overall pick and the defensive draft. We just got the number 1 ticket. And that, because that's what I'm saying, right? Think about it. Do you want the 4th wide receiver? Oh, boy, 4 wide receiver. The Jets got lucky before. Sauce Gardner wasn't the first corner. He was the second. They got lucky. Garrett Wilson wasn't the first receiver. He was the second to the Jets in those scenarios. They didn't get first pickings, and they got lucky to get the right players at the right positions that have turned out very cool. I'm not saying all the other guys are bust. I kind of like Drake London. Derek Stingley's really interesting, but the Jets got lucky before. But I could totally see them saying, okay, 4th wide receiver, 3rd offensive tackle, this, that, blee, blue, blah, blee, blue, blah, or number 1 on defense. That's what scares me. That's what keeps me up at night going, and my fiance's like, what? I'm like, it's a draft thing. She went, gosh darn it. She's like, she hates me because I do this all the time. But that's what I'm saying. That's the part that scares the hell out of me, Woody.
Well, hopefully Jadeveon Clowney could help, stop that, nullify that, because the top defender right now is Dallas Turner, the edge rusher, which the Jets have drafted an edge rusher the last 2 straight years. That would be crazy, in my opinion, to do a 3rd year. But I thought it was crazy last year, like to your point, right, Will McDonald. So if Clowney comes in, then I would imagine wouldn't have to worry about that. He's set to meet with the Jets next week. So Cross your fingers. Nice vet. Come
Oh, by
in
the
and
way,
score.
I think I see it from Frankie here. You were right. He was being dead serious. Okay. I thought that was some sarcasm there. So I totally apologize, Frankie. Thank you for the YouTube super chat. So you really did think Joe Douglas was doing work, which I believe, you know, maybe I'm affected by a lot of terrible Jets GMs of John Idzik and Mike McCagnon and this guy and this guy. I'm like, you know what, Joe Douglas? I'm a glass half full guy. So I see the things that Joe Douglas has done well. I'm like, wow, look at that. You know, he's done a lot better than a lot of these other GMs. So maybe it's a bad perspective by me or what, but there's a lot that I like about what Joe Douglas has been able to do. So Frankie, my apologies. I shouldn't have said that, but booyah, look at this. Philly Noodles 631 has just joined the Boy Green Super Fan Club, baby. Welcome to the show, Philly Noodles, and hopefully reading a lot more messages from you, pal. So, guys, a quick shameless plug. YouTube, the membership you could join. That's right there available if you're watching. So feel free to join the family, the Boy Green Super Fan Club, for all kinds of interesting, cool perks. Some, heads up on videos, special shout outs, things of that nature. So welcome to the show, baby. Philly Noodles with an S has just joined us. Love it. Beautiful.
Welcome,
Beautiful.
welcome.
So yeah, Woody, long story short, wow, the show has exploded way longer than I thought. But I will say this. First off, thank you for ransacking the show. You were just so compelled to hop back on Boy Green Daily. We've missed you. We haven't seen you since the season. So it's good to see you, pal. And it's a comfortable place. So anytime you want to hop up on Boy Green Daily, we got a couple open slots during each of the weeks that I like leaving free just for, calling an audible at the line of scrimmage. You feel me? So
Absolutely, something that Zach couldn't do at a high level. Whenever Joe Douglas keeps me up at night, you can best believe I'll be here because I like to sleep. Ladies and gentlemen, I enjoy sleep. All right, most times at 7:30, I'm like this. But when Joe Douglas's ineptitude keeps me up at night, I'm feeling. I said, Boy Green, I'm not gonna be able to sleep. I need to come on this show. I need to vent. There's only so many pages in my diary. All right. I couldn't fill the pages. My wrist started cramping up writing all these words. So thank you so much, Boy Green, for giving me this outlet to vent. All right, I'll give you my copay after the show.
Thank you.
You've earned it. You've earned it, Doctor.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I know we got a lot of Joe Douglas fans watching right now. Hey, there's a drought, and he's been the GM for more than a third of this drought.
Yeah.
So
okay, this will be
on him.
Well, here it is, Woody. I will give you a quick shout out to this because this is something you called out and you've almost spoken into existence. We'll have to do this more on the show tomorrow, so I'll be back tomorrow. Apparently, Woody will probably join me for that too. But Jadeveon Clowney, the former number 1 overall pick, is visiting the New York Jets next week. Okay. So Jadeveon Clowney, that is official. He was with Carolina last night. I don't know if he's still there, but he was with them last night. And talk about this. If Joe Douglas is bargain bin shopping, Jadeveon Clowney was signed a 1-year, $2.5 million contract. That's full value. He had a $2.5 million contract on his spot track. Last year, he had 9.5 sacks. That Bryce Huff guy had 10. And one of those guys went for $51 million. Another one, as we're seeing a lot of people in here, like John Sauer, another part of the Boy Green Superman Club, $2.5 million. And so he's never gotten double-digit sacks. He's been close on 4 different times. So he's had like 9 sacks, 9.5. I just feel bad for this bastard because, like, for some reason, something has happened where it has prevented him from getting to 10 sacks that I see on Pro Football Reference. But he keeps getting close at 9, 9.5. But he's an elite run defender. He's a very solid pass rusher. Plus, if you put him in with the boys are back in town. I don't know why I've done Thin Lizzy so much this week, but anywho, that's neither here nor there. The point is that he's in the group, he's in the rotation. We'll do a more full show on it, but I just wanted to give you that opportunity. Head tap, head nod, head tap. Yeah, head tap. Pat. No, head nod that you just that you called out Clowney and the Jets are doing work looking into it. It's a sneaky need. Like I said, we'll have to probably dive into it more on the show probably tomorrow, but want to throw that out there too.
Yes, appreciate it. Sometimes they listen, most times they don't.
But there it is. So Clowney, thanks everybody for tuning in. We have 1,000 people in the room. Thank you so much on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Thanks to the new member, Philly Noodles. with an S, joining us on the show, and all the YouTube super chats as well. You guys are awesome. We'll see you tomorrow morning live at 7:30 in the morning. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you.